one. Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course hearing about how fantastic snow wheeling is in Toyotas yet again, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Tyler, and joining me once again on the Snail Trail 4x4 episodes, Snail Trail 4x4 podcast, episode 382, is Mr. Snowman himself. Mr. Do you want to build a snowman, Jimmy Jet? How are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to build a snowman?
I like building snowmen.
You do?
Yeah.
I've heard that you also like running into them on sleds.
That's true.
Uh-huh.
Or
Yeah.
driving over them with my truck.
That's true. Yep.
All the above.
Yep. Nice. So how's your day been?
Not bad.
Yeah.
It's was a wet weekend, but it was pretty low key for the most part. So yeah.
It's good.
Yep.
Yep. I had a good weekend. We can talk a little bit about that probably on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to show you some pictures rebuilding or building some transfer cases.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I'll show you off air here. But
okay.
Yeah, it turned out good. We'll talk about that on Thursday though. This is going to be a fun episode. It's a Monday today.
Yes, it is.
Which means we have an educational, informational, entertainmental episode.
One
topic.
of those. Yeah.
One of those, probably not all three. Yeah, we got a fun topic for you guys today. But before we get there, we have a giveaway going on for the month.
Yes, we do. We've got Devos Light Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic area camp lantern, LED lantern.
Mm-hmm.
It will extend from like 36 inches to somewhere around 9 feet up in the air to get that light out of your eyes and above you. Let's see, what other fun stats do they have? 1,200 lumens. That's about all I got. Do you have any other memories of them?
They do have a solar attachment for it, USB-C recharging.
That's
a couple colored lens kit. So
3+ hours at high on high on the batteries.
Apparently they work for about 20 minutes when you drop them into the bottom of a lake.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're water resistant, but semi-proven waterproof.
Yeah. Yep.
Just don't take our word for it.
Yeah. So, really cool stuff. They package down to be a really, I don't want to say a tiny package. Like if you just want the light and you want to hang the light from stuff,
sure,
it's a really small package.
Yeah, I bet.
It's about the size of a tumbler, a 16-ounce tumbler.
Oh, wow.
If you want to take the stand with you too, that packs down into a 36-inch tube, essentially. Smaller diameter than a camping chair.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
So
how's the base of that?
Pretty good.
Is it like a tripod?
Yeah. Tripod style.
Okay.
Yeah. Or it comes with a steak as well that you can cook up medium rare. So,
that's nice.
Yeah.
The slam steak?
Yeah, the slam steak. That's right. I need to look at the slam steak. I keep forgetting that has a built-in hammer on it.
Slide hammer inside of it. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Those guys are smart over there.
They're clever. A lot of interesting, clever stuff that they do. So
absolutely. And if you want to get in for that giveaway, you can do that over at iRate 4x4, and you have to get into that giveaway tier under the watch, listen, and discuss forum in the Snail Trail 4x4 forum. And then there's the sign up options on mobile. You have to scroll down to the bottom. If you're on the desktop, it's there on the right side for you. And you need to sign up before the end of the month.
Yep. Before the end of March. So you have until March 34th to do that. I'm kind of interested in their stainless steel fire pit.
Yeah. That sounds really cool.
It is. I just thought it was a stainless steel fire pit. I didn't realize that they made it and designed it to be a smokeless pit as well.
Right.
So that just like shot up in value to me, and I really want to check it out because it does package down super tiny.
I know.
So
I agree. That thing's neat look, and it's just cool looking, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to say though that I'm waiting for somebody to say that they signed up on April 4th. And because you say the 34th or April 3rd or however that works out, they're like, I signed up in time.
Yeah.
But that hasn't happened yet. Hopefully everybody knows that you're joking around.
Yeah. Is that like saying I'm 5'16"?
Yeah. I've had my 21st anniversary of 21.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Having fun with math. That's what we do here on the episodes. No,
sometimes.
not really. No.
If the calculator's around.
Exactly.
Who was that? Constantine.
Constantine was our math guy.
Yeah, he always corrected us.
Yeah. So
I haven't heard from him in a while. So yeah, let's see. What else do we have to talk about? You can always, we doing the winch giveaway is probably wrapping up pretty close. We haven't looked at reviews in a while. Maybe we will on this upcoming Thursday. But you need to get in for the winch giveaway. You need to be one of the first 500 reviews left. If you're 501, you're out of the giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
So get in on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever they call it now. They keep changing the name. And sign up and give us a review. Yep. And will be entered for the winch.
Yep. Speaking of Constantine, our good buddy Andre.
Yes.
Got back to us.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we haven't talked about this. When was that? We were talking about how long it took us to drive. In theory, how long it would take us to drive from more or less San Diego to Oregon border. Mm-hmm. And I think we guesstimated that it would take about 17 hours, 16 to 17 hours. Yeah. And so our friend Andre, who lives in Estonia, mapped it from the capital of Estonia, which is below Finland on the other side of the Baltic Sea, to the capital of he just has to Germany, which it throws it in the middle of Germany. So maybe it goes to Berlin. Is 20 hours.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then so from there, he said it was crazy that it would take us 17 hours to get through one state, where it was take him 20 hours to get through half of Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did say that most of the roads in that area are 55 miles an hour.
Okay.
Where we would be going 80.
Yeah, true.
And then he, and then
on I-5, it's 85 to 90.
Right. So. Yeah. And then I sent him a picture of just California on top of Europe, and it covers a lot. It covers from pretty much the top of France, and it goes down throughout Croatia, which is pretty gnarly. And then he started joking around, and he's like, it would take me 17 hours to drive the major highways and circumvent Estonia.
Really?
Yeah.
Drive the entire perimeter of Estonia? Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I was like, that's cool. I want to do that.
That sounds fun.
Come over there and join you.
That's cool.
Speaking of that, though, it looks like Instagram has finally put in the fact that you can search the messages.
No shit. That's handy.
Because I forgot I couldn't find Andre because I was typing. I think I put an A at the end of his name, and it's an E or something. So I typed in Estonia. And it came up with every time that we talked about Estonia. About friggin' time, Instagram.
Jeez, that has been lacking. That has needed to happen for a long time. That's cool.
Long time, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a business account thing, but anyways, it was there.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, apparently California covers a big chunk of Europe if you overlay it.
Yep.
And it takes about the same amount of time to go from Estonia to Germany as it does to get from one end of California to the other end of California.
Yeah. Long ways.
Yep. Cool. That's official. I wanted to just reminded me when we talked about Constantine.
Yeah.
Because he's from Europe too, I believe.
Yep.
Germany. So
Andre's visiting Constantine.
That's why he was going on a trip to visit Constantine. That's where we got the time from. That's funny. Okay, cool, man. Let's see. Anything else we got for today before we get into the main topic?
I don't think so.
All right. Cool. Everybody go ahead and grab some snacks. Grab your favorite edible food.
Hot chocolate.
That's your edible food is hot chocolate?
Well, I don't know. For this conversation, I want something warm to drink.
You're definitely going to want something warm to drink, and maybe some whiskey.
Tea.
Yeah, some hot tea, some whiskey, maybe some cup of noodles, some ramen. Yep. We'll have a fun topic today. Might be a little controversial, may not be. Might be. I think it'll be a fun discussion no matter what, though.
Yeah, so I agree.
Cool. We'll be right on back with today's campfire discussion.
At Four Wheel Underground, we don't do DIY kits. With 26 years of experience, we've designed and engineered suspension geometry for maximum performance and predictability on and off-road, so that you don't have to. Check out Four Wheel Underground to find the best engineered Toyota suspension solutions at fourwheelunderground.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentle ladies, to today's campfire discussion. We have a fun one here for you today. I've been wanting to do this one for a while, but we've been kind of waiting for the right time for it, maybe.
Yeah, kind
of. This topic today is going to be about solo wheeling.
Yes.
In the snow.
In the snow.
Also known as snolo wheeling.
Snolo wheeling.
Snolo. So this one's kind of interesting. This one has always intrigued me. And the only thing that I can equate it to with in my head, because I love going out solo snow wheeling, but I know that you should never do it.
Right. Yeah.
So like, I don't know how to talk about this topic without this massive disclaimer of don't do as I do.
Yeah.
Don't be an idiot like me. And so I was trying to find a way to kind of preface this topic in a way that people can understand, but it won't necessarily come off encouraging people to go do it. Because I don't think that you should have the goals and ambition to do this unless you're really, really prepared and ready for it.
Well, and I think that's going to be the focus of today's talk.
100%.
Right? Is at what point do you feel that you are going to be ready to be able to go solo snow wheeling?
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, let's be honest. When you go snow wheeling,
let's be honest, Jimmy,
you're going to get stuck.
Uh-huh.
And then if you're all alone, you have to get yourself unstuck.
Mm-hmm. And if you can't get unstuck, then what now?
Then what's next?
Yeah.
And that comes down to a lot of it, right? Because if you're going out, you have to plan for the worst.
Absolutely.
And that's really kind of, I think, what we're, for the most part, going to be talking about. We're going to talk about some of the worst and what you need to prepare for the worst and what you should prepare for. You know, I think, going out snow wheeling is a lot of fun. But it's also very different from going out solo wheeling on a dry, rocky area.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot more potential for harm for maybe not your vehicle, but your personal self.
Definitely your personal self.
You know, the weather is not very friendly in the cold winter months on you.
No.
You know, if you get stuck in the middle of the Sierras in the middle of summer, you know, it's
not that bad.
70s, 80s at night, you know, and you can cuddle up in your rig and you'll probably be fine. But, you know, like if you don't have heat, you don't have essentials to keep you warm. It's very life threatening.
Absolutely. And so this is kind of what I wanted to get into, right? We're going to cover this topic but it needs to be taken very seriously. There are huge risks and huge consequences for going out and doing something like this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And the only thing I kind of equate it to is people who go out solo climbing.
Yeah.
And trying to do like these big wall climbs that are multi-terrain, multi-pitch climbs by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and part of a big chunk of the allure to those people is conquering something on their own.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that.
And so we've talked a little bit about, what is it? The climber, the alpinist.
The Alpinist.
That was the big movie that I was thinking of when like I started thinking about this topic and why I go snow wheeling. I was like, well, it's the same kind of reasoning as the alpinist and what he was doing. And I was like, but I thought that dude was fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Like I would never think to do something like that. But here I am wanting to go solo snow wheeling.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a tricky topic to, I don't want to say talk about, but it's a tricky topic to pull off and do.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think, you know, it's just, there's a massive disclaimer, you know, this is not something everybody should do. Once again, let's be honest about it. I don't think many people choose to go out solo snow wheeling.
No.
You know, there's only a handful of weird people that are messed up in the head that would want to go out and do that.
I agree.
We're going to talk about this topic. We're going to talk about things that you need. And this is for that 1% maybe that wants to try and go off and to conquer something on their own. And I think the gist of it is that a lot of the topics that we're going to be discussing have options on like backup plans and like what, like in case you get into the worst case scenario, how now are you going to be able to phone home and get help?
Yeah.
You know, or how are you going to be able to solve this problem?
Yep.
And I'll be honest, once again, Bobcat is not ready to go out snow wheeling solo.
Yeah.
Like I might have the skills to be able to do it, but my vehicle isn't ready to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't stress enough that this is a very risky adventure, unless you feel that, you have all the skills and all the equipment needed. If you're going to go snow wheeling, you should just go with a buddy.
100%.
That's the easiest answer. If you want to go snow wheeling, go with a friend. If you feel that you need to conquer something, then listen to our story and figure out if it's for you.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of safety nets that you need to cast.
Yes, 100%. And I think that's a good place to start is safety nets.
Okay.
For me, whenever I go out anywhere, wheeling, snow wheeling, whatever it is, the number one most important part to me is being able to get reach help if I need it.
Yes.
That to me comes down to ham radios.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about ham radios in the past. There's lots of different devices out there. I don't want to say lots. There's a handful of devices out there that you can reliably count on to get help if you need it.
Right.
Probably the most valuable, so the least cost, but has the most return on that investment, that cost would be a avalanche beacon.
Yeah. Okay. Because they're not terribly expensive, but they can track.
Yep, they can track you, and if you hit the SOS button, I think they have some with G-force meters in them too. So if you hit an SOS button on it, it sends out an SOS signal where the cavalry is going to come and get you.
Yeah.
And they're relatively inexpensive.
Go ahead.
Fairly inexpensive service plan, but you hit that button, someone's coming to that location to get you.
Yeah. The cheapest version of that is tell a friend.
Tell a friend. Yeah, I guess.
Right. And that's one thing that I do every time that I'm going to go out somewhere, whether I'm going with friends or not. I usually end up telling my parents, I'm going to X location and I'll be gone for this long and I should be home by this time.
Yeah.
And that way, if I'm not home or I don't get back in contact with them, then they can start worrying and start sending out a search party or sending out what it is. That is the cheapest and easiest safe insurance that you have. The
100.
thing is that you need to stick to what you tell them.
Exactly.
Because if you go, I'm going to the Rubicon, and then you choose to go to Fordyce, then they're sending all the help and search out to the Rubicon and you're not there.
Yeah.
So if you're going to tell someone where you're going, you have to tell them where you're exactly going to be. And so that they know, stick to the plan. Next level is probably the avalanche beacon, which is a basic plan, but actually tracks you.
Yep.
And knows exactly where you are at almost any point in time. And you can send SOSs from it. Next from there might be Garmin.
In terms of inexpensiveness, probably ham radio.
Okay.
Yep. So ham radio and knowing how to use the ham radio.
Yes.
And doing some research to find the repeaters in your area first. That would probably be the next step up in cost. But with the ham radio, you can set them up with APRS tracking. Yep. So the people back at home can watch where you are at all times. And then you can get out SOS beacons on your tracking. You can text people through APRS tracking. And if you can hit a repeater, you can call and talk to people live.
Yes.
On ham radio as well, which is really nice. The trick to that is there has to be a repeater nearby for you to reach.
Correct.
And a lot of times if you can get to a high elevation, a mountaintop, a ridge, something like that, you can hit a repeater in the United States. But if you end up getting something and you get immobilized down in a valley or crevasse somewhere, that signal is probably not going to be able to reach a repeater.
Right.
Something to think about when it comes to the ham radio stuff.
Yeah.
Then the next step up would be probably a Garmin.
Yes.
Something like a Garmin that, has the InReach Mini, any of those.
They have a new one now, I think. Is it the Mini that doesn't have a screen?
I believe so.
Because one of them now you can sync to your phone, which sounds like a fun option, but let me just go off on a little tangent. Back in the day, I used to have a Spot. And it was the new one. And this was like a decade or more ago. It was the new one and you could sync it with your phone. But if you're away from power for a while, and I was doing backpacking, my phone would eventually die unless I turned it off and only turned it back on to activate and talk on the Spot. And the Spot allowed me to send 13 character messages out, somewhat like the Garmin does. But you have to keep your phone going to be able to do that.
Yep.
The Spot and the Garmin Mini both have SOS buttons on them. So you can activate that with not having to use your phone. For us going wheeling, we kind of have power a lot. and you don't need to really worry about phones dying, but it's just a thing out there that I wanted to throw.
100%. Power is a big concern, especially when, some of the things that we're going to be talking about in terms of safety nets require power. We, as like you said, we do have some power.
Yes.
Being with our vehicles, considering we're talking about going off-roading solo. The trick is, how do you make that power sustainable?
Sure.
And how do you have an indefinite amount of power, right?
Yeah.
And that, in my opinion, comes down to having solar of some sort.
Okay.
So
I agree. Before we go down that road, let's finish the Garmin. The Garmin InReach. It's a satellite feature. It shoots it up into space, which is cool. And it has all the features for SOS. I think it even has, I don't have one, so I don't know it exactly, but I think it also has some phrases already built into it that you can say, like, I'm safe at camp.
Yep.
Or it allows you, some of them, if you pay for the plan, I think it allows you to send some basic messages out via satellite.
Yep.
So those are pretty cool. I'm actually considering getting one because for some reason it seems like the assistant doesn't want to get a ham radio, or get into that game. So I'm thinking a Garmin might be a good middle ground for her. You were going down this list. I think a Garmin is more expensive, but an easier barrier of entry.
Totally. Than ham radio.
A ham radio is cheaper, but you have to learn a little bit more. You need a license and you need to be able to figure out where repeaters are and how to access them and set them up in your radio. So it's a little bit more complex, a little bit easier to use, or a little easier to contact people and cheaper. But the Garmin is a little bit more expensive, but easier to start to learn.
100%.
So there's that.
Yep, 100%. So there's those. Another thing, which was something that was launched and released relatively recently.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about this.
Is iPhone 14s.
Oh, that's not what I was thinking.
iPhone 14s have the ability to now contact satellites.
Sure.
And have satellite messaging now.
Yeah.
Text messaging. If you're in an emergency and you don't have cell service, you will get a notification pop up on your iPhone that says, would you like to use satellite communications?
Wow.
And the iPhone 14s can now do that.
They can go to space too.
Yep. And now I believe it's either Motorola or Samsung is also looking at doing a similar technology.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to the next one, the one I was thinking of, which is what you just got. A Starlink.
Yes, sir.
Which is probably the most expensive.
Yep.
Because it also, well, I guess the Garmin has a monthly plan too, but you get
the Garmin monthly plan isn't as expensive as Starlink though.
No, right. But you get satellite, phone, being able to call and internet and everything from a portable device, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you get full internet capabilities.
Yeah.
So it's more expensive. You can hook up a computer to it. You can hook up your phone, make phone calls. You can get on Facebook, message your local Facebook off-roading group. You can email somebody, email your off-road club. It's if you have a Starlink, you're pretty much set up, ready to go.
Yeah.
At least in North America.
Well, but let's just say that has also the same problem as a cell phone.
Correct. You need power
and signal.
Well, that's the thing with
Starlink is as long as you're in a clear open area, you can get signal probably. But if you're in a very wooded area and you have no, like, whatever angle they require to get up to the sky, then it'll either be spotty or it won't work.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of one of the neat things about Starlink is that the dish orients itself.
Okay.
It knows where the satellites are, and it'll orient itself to the satellites.
Sure.
So you just need to then make sure that there's a somewhat of an open sky to the satellites.
True. And what you could do is you could put it on the top of your Devos light.
That's true.
And get it up 9 feet up in the air.
You totally could. I didn't think about that. You can totally do that though.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to be taking the Starlink with us to Moab.
Okay.
And so I'm going to play around with it there, and I'm going to see if there's a way to hook it up on the Bronco while we're driving.
Oh, interesting.
Without it blowing off. Flying off on the freeway. So
I wonder if the signal will go through a window.
I don't know. I wonder if it would go through a fiberglass top.
It probably will.
It should. It's a gigahertz signal. So anyway, so
that or it'll melt a hole in it.
That'd be cool.
How'd you get
real
that
leaky
hole?
hard top. Like I burned a hole in my hand the other day with the laser.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are some of your kind of safety net stuff. I'm a big fan of ham radio, and satellite comms are getting better and better. I think as Starlink gets better and better, ham radio is going to become 100% a non-star. It's going to be nothing. No one's going to use it anymore.
Yeah. You think it'll kill the markets?
I think it's going to kill the markets. I think that it'll kill all radio comms like GMRS, FRS. I mean, if people can sit there in their vehicles and text each other while they're going down a forest road somewhere.
Sure.
I think that's, yeah.
Or they could call each other.
Or call each other.
I think people will still use walkie-talkies though.
Mm-hmm. You think so?
Something like that. I do, because I mean, we can go on Fordyce and have full signal all the way up Fordyce for the most part. Maybe there's a few spots that are dropped, but we don't. We still will bring a GMRS, or we'll still use the ham radio, and we'll still do that. We won't call each other on a phone and be in a big group text message.
That's true. That is the big benefit of the radios, is that you can have everybody on simplex. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't think it'll kill everything, but I think it will become the number one safety net.
Yeah, I would agree. So,
then I just want to go back and point out that we really did not list cell phones on this list. And that's because you can't really rely on a cell phone if you're going out into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so don't think that the safety net, your cell phone, is going to be the answer. Your cell phone might be the first place you go. Like, oh, I'm stuck. I need to call somebody. Oh, my cell phone's dead, or I don't have signal. Now what are you going to do?
Yep.
Right. And for me, it's going to the ham radio.
Yep.
And then maybe it's, if I can't figure out how to get out or get a signal out, maybe I will have a Garmin in the future. I don't know. Or Starlink. Who knows what I'm going to end up with.
Yeah.
But you need, in a way, I think solo snow wheeling, you need redundancy of redundancy.
Yeah. 100%.
You need, if I can't get it this way, I need it to be able to get it this way. And if I can't get it that way, then I really need to be able to fall back on my backup plan.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where a lot of this is going to come to, is there's going to be just a redundancy of redundancy, because you're going to need it.
Yep. You don't have any other resources. It's all you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's my first thing, is having communications.
Yes.
And for me, it comes down to ham radio and cell phones. And pretty much right now, I know where the ham radio coverage is because I'm out there all the time.
Right.
And so then experience also comes into play as to knowing where you get communications from.
Yeah. Well, now you have Starlink too.
And now I have Starlink. I haven't found a way to hook it up to a vehicle yet while we're rolling, while it's moving. But yeah, so that's communications, and knowing where communications is, such as, did you hear about them taking down the cell phone tree sign on the Rubicon?
I did.
Yeah, they're going to be taking down the cell phone tree sign because they're saying too many people are stopping at the cell phone tree and causing problems.
Well, too many people are driving off trail at that location,
which is a weird claim to me, because I'm like, there's not
a lot of trail there.
There's not a lot of trail there to go off of. So
I think it's below. I think
you think it's so that
like
the clearing
if
below?
You're coming in from Loon Lake area, driving towards Buck, and you come up Walker, and you go up to the cell phone trees. There's two signs, right? There's one before and one after. I think there's two. I know the one at the big pine tree at the top, but I think there's one before that. Anyways, I think it's when you descend down that hill at the base area, there is getting really big.
Interesting.
And my guess is people are driving down there, driving somewhat off trail, parking, hiking up,
and then using the tree,
and then using the plugging into the tree.
Plugging in, connecting to its Wi-Fi. That would maybe. I just haven't seen anybody do that, though.
I don't know where there's room to pull off.
Yeah.
Up top. So I'm not sure what this story is.
That's like the only spot that it could be.
Yeah. Maybe they just don't want to claim that there's internet or cell reception out there.
I bet you they just don't. They want to turn off the service to the tree.
Probably.
And so they're like, we can't afford the internet service at the tree anymore. So they're just going to shut off the service.
Now that everybody has Starlinks anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it'd be hilarious if somebody set up a Starlink on the tree.
That would be fun.
On a solar generator. Open Wi-Fi for everyone to get on.
Yeah. Anyways, so knowing where there's service and knowing how to connect to the service, if it's a repeater or anything.
Yep. 100%. So communications with the outside world, because at some point you're going to need to use it.
Yes.
I'm just going to say that, like, you hope to not have to use it, but you're going to have to. So you need to have that squared away.
Right. It's like riding a motorcycle, right? Yep. It's not have you fallen, it's have you fallen yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're going to fall. At some point, you're going to crash.
Yeah.
So It's at some point you're going to need to connect to the outside world. At some point you're going to get stuck and you're going to need to connect to the outside world to get some sort of help one way or another, or even to let them know that you're okay.
Yeah.
But you're going to be late.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. So make sure that's dialed in. That's number one for me. Number two for me is knowing where I am at all times. And that's really important for me because of how bad at navigation I am.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I have Gaia Maps and Google Maps, my two redundant systems.
Got it.
And so I have pretty much all of the national forests in California downloaded, the national forest maps in California downloaded on my phone for Gaia Maps.
Okay.
And a lot of the BLM land as well.
Cool.
And then for Google Maps, I have all of California downloaded on my phone for Google Maps.
That's cool.
And that updates every, I think, 3 weeks, 21 days.
Okay.
And then Gaia.
And so then like if you're in airplane mode, you can still run maps in California.
Yep.
That's cool.
If I have no cell service or anything. It's a pretty cool feature. You just, you go to downloads, I think, on your Google account under maps. And then you should be able to have the option to choose an area.
Yeah. Okay.
And I found out that you can split up California into 8 squares that you can view on the screen. And it takes up about 3 gigs of data.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of data.
It is a lot of data, but you get the whole
everything
state and you can use it offline now.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Okay. So that makes sense.
Yep. So those are my 2 redundant systems. I don't care if you use Onyx, if you use Apple Maps, if you use Waze. I don't know if Waze has a way to do that. If you use Avenza Maps and you have, maps that you've purchased, downloaded and upload into Avenza. I don't care what you use, but you need to be able to know where you are and be able to tell somebody where you are if you need help.
Absolutely.
And so that you can do with any cell phone out there. Every cell phone, any smartphone has a GPS receiver in it.
Right.
And
even if you don't have signal.
Yep.
You can still access the GPS.
Yep.
So I just want to say that I went to Google Maps right now while you're talking. I just zoomed out, even though I didn't need to, but I hit my profile photo in the upper right, which is where the search bar is. And then there's a button called Offline Maps.
Oh, there you go.
And so if you click Offline Maps, then you can select an area.
Yep. There you go.
So there it is.
Yeah. I use Google Offline Maps all the time. Almost every trip I go on.
Yeah.
Because generally I don't have cell service right when I get off the trail.
Sure.
So once I'm on the trail, I switch over to the National Forest Service maps. But to get to and from trailheads, I use Google Maps.
Right.
And so once I'm off the trail and I want to go back home, I just hit home and Google knows where that is. And so it'll bring up driving directions.
Yeah, that's
without
cool.
service. So
nice.
It works really well. I've been really happy with it. And Google's been getting pretty damn good at starting to add on Forest Service roads into their databases now. So they actually have quite a few Forest Service roads and databases too.
It just doesn't have you like, okay, get out of your vehicle and hike to this road.
Yes, exactly. Hike to your waypoint. That
all
you put
these
on.
dots.
Yeah.
Follow this path.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the 2 systems I use. Absolutely. Whatever system you pick, you need to make sure that has offline capabilities.
Right.
That's the important part.
Yeah. Stored maps of some sort. Yeah. And we're both big fans of Gaia. Onyx is now, what are they? Cal 4 Wheel endorses them.
Kind of. Onyx is putting a lot of money into advertising towards the off-road world.
Yes.
Gaia seems to be focusing just strictly on like hikers.
Okay.
And it seems like Onyx is really going after hunters, the hunter crowd and the off-road crowd.
Got it.
And so they're working up deals with a bunch of off-roading organizations nationwide.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, we're going to partner with you. And if people buy a subscription from us and mention Cal 4, we will give part of their subscription back to Cal 4.
Oh, got it.
Which I love. That's great.
Yeah.
And that's actually, they've been making big headway. And that might push me into trying Onyx again. I just don't like the user interface of Onyx.
Oh, got
I
it.
don't know what it is about it, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
I like the feel of the National Forest Service maps.
Right.
Rather than the satellite imagery that Onyx does.
Yeah. I heard a rumor, and I don't know if you've heard this or if you could crush it, but I heard that all the off-road group from Gaia left and went to work for Onyx.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that. I don't know. I can't speak on that. I do like the user interface and the usability of Gaia better than Onyx, but I haven't been able to pinpoint what it is exactly that I don't like about Onyx. It's kind of like driving a Jeep. I know I don't like driving a Jeep, but I can't exactly pinpoint why I don't like it.
I know what it is,
but I think I figured it out after driving the Bronco around.
It's the seating position.
It's the seating position, but it's the tiny ass little windshield too. The Bronco has the same tiny ass little windshield.
Yeah.
And I sit so high up that I have to like duck down to see the street lights. And if I lower my seat down enough, then my head gets like at the level of the dash, and then it's hard to see over the hood and stuff. And it's hard
tall
to
person
find
problems.
maybe it's a tall person problem in tiny windshields. But anyways, I'm a big fan of what Onyx is doing in the off-road world.
Yeah.
I just don't like their product.
Got it.
So
and you don't
like,
know why.
And I don't know why. And it
has a tiny windshield.
It has a tiny windshield. Let's leave it at that. But anyways, so having communications with people and knowing where you are at all times, and then being able to figure out where you are to communicate back to people if you need help. And you can do that with any phone. You just pull up your mapping app on your phone and drop a pin on your location.
Right.
And it will give you the GPS coordinates on the search bar of the mapping software, whether you have cell service or not.
Right.
You can do it in airplane mode. Well, you have to turn on your GPS. But so, yeah, if those three things are like top priorities, you are not allowed to even venture into this world of snow wheeling or snolo wheeling unless you can do those three things and do them well.
Yeah. And have redundancy.
And have redundancy.
Right.
In them.
And
yes.
I think that's going to be one of the things that we're going to talk about a lot.
Yep.
That we've already mentioned that. But if you're going to go out and do this, make sure that you have the redundancy so that if something's not working, you can still solve that problem and get into contact with somebody.
Yep.
And you need to know where you are. You need to have some sort of mapping software and some sort of communications to contact them.
Yep. 100%. That is non-negotiable. Like there's certain things I think that we'll talk about. It's kind of be like, how much risk do you want to take? Sure. You know, is it worth packing this and risking the outcome of not having it?
Sure.
But those three things are, in my opinion, non-negotiable. You have to have them.
Got it.
And be good at them.
Okay.
So
what were there was, because you're saying three and I can only think of two. Mapping software. Know where you're at. Yeah. Right. And communications.
Yep. And that's, mapping software and know where you're at are
you were counting those as two different things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because mapping's knowing where you're going, where you're at. If you just have a regular paper map, that can cover that, right?
MapQuest.
Yeah, if you have MapQuest, that can cover that. But being able to then tell other people exactly where you're at to within 10 to 15 feet, that's another part of it that has to be there.
Got it.
So cool. Those three things. We got to think about, for the rest of it, in my opinion, it's really, risk versus reward. How much risk are you willing to take on in your life in order to go do the things that you want to do?
Sure.
And that's something that only you can answer. But there's some different ideas that I think we can bring to the board that will help you figure out whether you want to pack an extra 2,000 pounds of gear into your 4Runner like I do and go out snowlowing. Or if you don't want to risk that much, you're like, I'm just going to take 500 pounds a day or whatever your gear is. So the big thing to remember is that in snow wheeling, we as human beings are not evolved to exist in sub-freezing temperatures.
Correct.
So there's always, in survival, there's the rule of threes, right?
Yes.
3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food.
3 minutes without air,
and 3 minutes without air. So in sub-freezing temperatures, if you don't have shelter from those temperatures, you got 3 hours to live.
Yep. In extreme conditions.
That's a big part of that. In my opinion, that's the next thing you look at solving when we're out snow wheeling. Lucky for us, we have a vehicle we're taking with us.
Yep.
That can double as shelter.
Correct.
If you really want to, or whether it's an emergency.
That's not the most insulated shelter.
It's not, no.
So you will probably need to pack other stuff to keep yourself warm in case of you're stuck and you need to be there overnight. You need to figure out how to prepare for that. But you do in a worst case scenario, you do have a shelter from wind and some extreme elements. It could get really, really cold inside there, but it's probably not as cold as it is outside.
Yeah, it's probably drier than outside, probably a lot less windy than outside. And you need to have a heater working on your vehicle, because you can turn on your vehicle and get the engine warm and run it for a little bit and warm up the interior of the vehicle every now and then. Now, how much you do that is going to depend up to you, because you are using gas.
Right.
You are using your fuel for the vehicle in order to do that.
And if it's snowing really bad, don't you need to hop out every once in a while and clean where the tailpipe is?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So there's things to think about there, but lucky for us being snow wheeling, we kind of bring a shelter with us, at least an emergency shelter. And so if you have the correct gear, clothing, and sleeping bag, warmth amenities to stay warm in that vehicle in 0 degrees or lower, depending where you are, then I think that's a pretty easy one to accomplish.
Yes.
The trick is just redundancy and making sure you bring it with you.
Right. Yeah.
Like what happens if your clothes get cold or wet? Sorry, not cold. What if they get wet? You can't wear those anymore. You're done. You're taking those off immediately. And you're putting on some new clothes. So having extra sets of clothes for sub-freezing temperatures is something that you need to think about, how you're going to rotate and dry those out in between wearing them. That's kind of one thing that I think about. So whenever I go snow wheeling, I bring my snow jacket, sweater, and a wool sweater, preferably wool socks, extra wool socks, my snow boots, and then at least 2 pairs of snow pants if I'm going to be out by myself. So I'll usually bring my snowmobile outfit that Ozzy got me, and then a whole nother snow setup of clothes.
Yeah.
And extra gloves. I have like 3 or 4 pairs of gloves.
Right.
So
I've said it before, and I'm sure you remember, but we'll see here. Do you know what the 2 natural fabrics or material that will keep you warm even when they're wet?
Wool is one.
Yes.
Was it silk?
It is silk.
On the other one? Yeah.
Silk is the other one. Silk will, even if it's wet, it'll still keep you warm. So cotton's out.
Yeah.
Right? Polyester's out.
Don't bring those with you.
Don't bring those with you. I mean, Levi's, done.
No, don't definitely don't do those.
Any of these cotton socks, no. Cotton underwear, no. Don't bring these things. You laugh when I would say bring some wool underwear. Everybody's like, oh man, that's horrible. I'm like, no, there are some nice advancements in wool here in the near future with like merino wool and some other wool companies that actually make really comfortable wool garments of sweaters, socks, shoes, undies, whatever.
My temple underwear is wool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
The white one that you wear to church.
Yeah.
But
picking on the Mormons.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just think about what you're bringing with you if you're going to be concerned about getting wet and how to get things dry and staying warm in the meantime.
Yep. So, human beings, we lose body temperature. What is it? 7 times faster in just wet. If we're wet.
Oh yeah.
We lose body heat 7 times faster. If we are wet and, there's either air or water moving across our bodies too. So you end up in a river or in a rainstorm where you're wet and it's windy, you're going to lose body heat 40 to 45% times faster.
Dang.
Than not being wet and being dry.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's crazy how quickly we as human beings, our bodies will shut down due to hypothermia if put in those conditions. So you need to work on preparing, on combating and preventing that from happening in the first place.
Right. And we're going to probably talk about dehydration and water here in the future. But one of the things that I like, a rule that I have with my family, and it goes along with dehydration and water, and you'll get this in a second, is if your fingers or your toes are cold, then your body is too cold.
Yeah.
Because it is, we've talked about it in the past. Now your body is drawing blood out of your extremities and it's bringing it to your core. So as soon as your toes or your fingers are cold, that's an indication that you are cold. Even though you might not feel cold, your body is cold and it's drawing things into the core to keep your core warm. So you've got to add more layers onto yourself to keep yourself warmer. Where dehydration kind of comes in play here is as soon as you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Yeah.
Your body's going, I'm dehydrated. I need water.
Yep.
Right. And so it's sort of the same thing, right? So you need to keep up on your fluids. You need to add more layers on you. It's sort of the one and the same. So as soon as you start getting thirsty, you're already dehydrated. You need to drink a lot more water than you think you need to have. And if your fingers and toes are cold, you need to put more layers on.
Yep. 100%. And when it comes to dehydrating yourself, let's go there. I mean, we talked make sure you have good, I want to touch on boots again, boots and socks.
Yeah.
We as human beings depend on walking around to get around.
Sure.
If our feet are frozen or we're starting to get frostbite on our toes, bad juju, we're done.
Yeah, it hurts.
Much. It hurts a lot, and it makes everything exponentially harder as human beings. So
at least that's what I've been told.
Yeah, right. So make sure you have amazing boots that are rated for negative degree temperatures, and make sure you have multiple pairs of wool socks that you can swap out as your feet get sweaty, your socks get wet, snow and water ingress into your boots. If that does happen, you need to get those socks off and get fresh socks on. Having fresh socks when you go to bed at night helps keep your feet warm. Yep. So that's a big thing in clothing. When it comes to clothing, preparing for solo snow wheeling, make sure you have awesome boots and multiple pairs of wool socks
and gaiters.
Gaiters are, yes. I would go with gaiters being an essential item. I would too. I always have a pair of gaiters on me.
A lot of people are probably like, my pants have that elastic thing and it holds out snow pretty well. If you're going out snow wheeling and by yourself and you're going in extremely deep snow and you're going to have to do some hiking around to get yourself unstuck possibly, or figure out where you're going to go, or hike up to the top of a mountain to get cell reception because you didn't do redundancy on your communications, you're going to want to have gaiters.
Yes.
Gaiters are a fabric setup that
they're a waterproof fabric.
They're a waterproof fabric that pretty much clasps around your calf, but goes from your pants over your boots and blocks that area where things could get in between your pants and your boots. Yep. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pants and boots and pants and boots.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Gaiters, I have them every time. Whether I'm going solo snow wheeling or not, if I'm going to be in the snow, I immediately put my gaiters on. It's like the first thing I do.
Yeah, for Winter Fun Fest, I wore them the first day, didn't wear them the second day. I got snow down my boots the second day. Like, why didn't I friggin' put my gaiters on?
Yep. Yeah, they're a super lightweight thing. They don't take up a lot of space.
No.
The value you get out of having them way offsets the risk or the weight value of not having
absolutely
them.
It's very great insurance to help keep your feet dry.
Yeah.
Like, it's very unlikely that you're going to get snow between your gaiters and your pants that's going to make it down into your boot.
Yeah.
It's like,
right.
it won't happen.
No.
I mean, maybe it will to somebody, but it's, that's one of 1%.
Yep. So, take care of your feet. Make sure you have a lot of redundancy planned into your clothing for your feet if you're going solo snow wheeling. From there, I like to think of things and what to think about next in terms of, the rules of 3, right?
Okay.
Probably we're going to have air.
Yeah.
And so the next thing was shelter, the 3 hours.
Yeah.
Next thing is water. You have 3 days. How do you keep yourself hydrated when solo snow wheeling? Obviously, you're surrounded by a lot of water.
Yes.
But it's all frozen. And if you go and eat the snow in order to keep yourself hydrated, you're going to burn more body calories to heat up that snow in order to melt it and turn it into water in your body than you gain out of hydrating yourself.
Correct.
I don't know if that was a long way to say that. Does that make sense?
You will never become hydrated from eating snow.
No. It's just never going to happen. So the best thing that you need to be able to do is melt snow. Luckily, we have a vehicle with us. So we have a couple of different ways kind of built into the vehicle. We can bring along a metal container or a plastic water bottle and shove it full of snow and put it on the engine block and run the engine for a while.
Yep.
That'll help melt stuff. You can also have a way to start a fire.
Yeah.
So if you can have a way to start a fire, you can start a little warming fire inside your vehicle if you need to, just make sure you have ventilation. But you can also, if you bring a tarp, you can create a little lean-to off of your vehicle. to protect yourself from any snow and kind of maintain shelter and get a fire going outside the vehicle, heat up some water while you kind of stay warm inside the vehicle.
Yep.
A lot of different options to do that and kind of create and melt water.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if you're going to be doing any cooking, you now have a stove.
You should have a stove with you.
Probably have a stove, and then you just throw a pot with some snow in it and throw it on top of the stove, and you can make water.
Yep. So lots of different ways to make water. Me personally, whenever I go, I get a flat of the 32 bottles of 16.9 ounces waters. And I always make sure I have at least 3/4 of a case, 75% of one of those in my rig for every 2 day that I'm going to be gone. 2 days I'm going to be gone is kind of the way I judge it out, which I don't know if it equates to, but kind of the rule of thumb is a gallon per day per person.
Right.
And so if you're going to be doing a lot of extraneous activity, you need more than that.
Yes.
But that's kind of the way I start out. And then if for some reason I do run out, I have ways to start fires and warm up snow and make water. So redundancy, again, having a redundant way to sustainably make water for yourself.
Yes.
So
yeah, I think so. You could, if there is, I mean, not all snow wheeling is in the endless deeps, but if you're out in the middle of nowhere and there is some running waters, you could always bring a water filter. Worst case scenario, iodine tablets.
Yep.
And you can just let those dissolve in there and it kills a lot of stuff, but not everything.
Yep. Life straw technology has come a long way as well, and they've gotten really inexpensive for what they are.
True.
I always recommend if you're ever out there and you see a life straw, grab one, throw it in your glove box.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
It's kind of like gators.
Yeah.
An awesome insurance thing. Doesn't take up a lot of space, doesn't take up a lot of weight, doesn't cost a whole lot, but it will save your life if you have it and you need to use it.
Yep, absolutely. I think next from water would probably come food.
Probably be food. Yep.
And really, I would just say plan for twice as long as you're going to be out there.
2 to 3 times. I think minimum 3 days.
Okay.
Is kind of what I plan for. I try and plan for 2 to 3 days, 2.5.
If you're going out for a day trip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And then if you're going on a 3-day trip, plan on a 6-day trip kind of thing.
Yeah. So 2 to 3 times as long.
Yep.
So it would carry a lot of food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think at some point, you know, during the first day, you're going to be fine. But maybe if you're stuck overnight and the next day, you're going to be like, I need to concern myself about how much food and water I have.
Start rationing. Yep. So I also like to bring kind of snackable foods that are high calorie.
Yeah.
And that way,
peanut
butter is awesome.
And honey.
Yeah. Peanut butter and honey. Peanut butter stuffed pretzels are one of my go-to snack foods for trails. Yeah. They're great. And so if you do end up in a spot where you're like, shit, now I got to start rationing, it's easy to ration high calorie snack foods that are like that. So
trail mix is another one of those items.
Trail mix is awesome. My sister used to work for an outdoor camp in Maine.
Okay. And
they made a bar that was something stupid. It was like 3,000 calories in like a 4x4 square.
Wow.
And literally it was like oats, butter, brown sugar, and maybe some lard in there, like all mashed together. They heat it up and then they pour it into these tins. It cools off. They called them bricks. That's what they were.
Okay.
And so they're like just this massive high density calorie thing that doesn't take up a lot of space. And so I've always wanted to try and get the recipe. She never gave it to me.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to make some for summer wheeling adventures.
Summer or winter?
Or winter too. So,
okay.
Yeah. Any wheeling adventures. I'm just typically not gone for longer amounts of time in the winter, but those are great items to have for winter wheeling too, if you need high calorie stuff.
Yeah. Would you carry any like MREs as like a backup?
I used to. The nice thing about MREs is that they have the heating element in them.
Yes.
But with how good
Top Ramen is?
Not Top Ramen, Mountain Houses.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Freeze-dried meals have gotten. And with me always carrying around, having the ability to melt water or boil water, I've just started carrying those.
Yeah.
So I've got a little emergency stash in the Forerunner.
Yeah. And those don't take up a ton of room and they last a really long time. And as long as you don't accidentally puncture a hole in them, they'll last a really long time. Yeah. And they're easy to make.
Yeah.
Right.
Super easy to make. And you can get like the ones that are like 1.5 or 3 person meals. Like you get one of those. And if you need to ration it, you can ration one bag of that for like a day and a half.
Yeah.
So
and I believe the challenge is still out there for that 8 person beef stroganoff. If anybody can eat one of those, one person can eat that 8-person one
in one meal.
One meal sitting.
Yeah.
None of my friends or I have been able to do it.
That's funny. So yeah, I'm a big fan of mountain houses.
Yeah.
Or any freeze-dried meal. They've come a long way and they've gotten really tasty.
Yeah, there's a few different brands out now. That's true. Yeah, I haven't had one of those in a while.
Yeah.
But those are great.
So that's for kind of food. Again, redundancy. And when it comes to food, you may not have the sustainability part about it because you can't just grow your own vegetables while you're out there. You might be able to start hunting.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But ideally, if you've done your job at having good communications, you should never be in that location for more than like 48 hours.
Yeah.
Search and rescue should be able to come get you. If you've done your job at the first 3 non-negotiable items, you should only have to be there for max of like 3 days.
Right.
Food, in my opinion, maybe not so much as sustainability like water is, in my opinion. Water, you need, in my opinion, it's easy enough to make a sustainable source of water when snow wheeling. Food, on the other hand, it's a lot harder to do, but if you can make it have redundant options and rationability with food, that's the goal for food. So let's see, from there, that's kind of like the survival aspect of it, right? You need shelter, you need water, you need food.
Yes. Okay.
From there, we have to think about, we're out wheeling with a vehicle.
Yes.
If you get stuck, you need to get yourself unstuck, or at least be able to try and get yourself unstuck.
Yeah.
You put yourself in this position. You have a moral responsibility to get yourself out of that responsibility before wasting public resources.
Sure.
Because you're the idiot that decided to go up and do this in the first place.
I believe everybody that ever started this episode, if they've made it this far in, are going, yeah, why haven't you talked about this earlier? You need recovery.
Yep.
Parts.
You need to be able to self-recover.
Mm-hmm.
So recovery points on the vehicle, make sure those are all rated recovery points and they're there. Go back and listen. We've done a few episodes on recovery now. You need recovery gear, carry 3 snatch blocks, and know how to pull yourself backwards.
Yeah.
Or have a rear winch.
Yep. That'll work.
Yeah. Because usually we're going to be moving forwards and we usually get stuck going forwards. And it's usually a lot easier to get yourself out backwards in the snow than it is to pull yourself forwards in the snow.
Absolutely.
So be able to know how to pull yourself backwards and have the equipment to do so, or have a rear winch, which would be the equipment to do so. But the other thing you need to think about in snow is, what are the things that can go wrong that are a high likelihood of going wrong in the snow that can leave you dead in the water?
Okay. Before we go to that, do we want to talk about recovery items? Or do we just want a blanket that you need to bring all the essential like recovery equipment to be able to get you out of the worst case scenario?
That's pretty much what I would put it at. And that comes down to, in my opinion, a shovel top thing for snow wheeling. Always take a shovel with you.
I thought it would have been an air device to bring your tires down.
That's number 2. Being able to deflate and inflate your tires when you need to, having a winch, having recovery points, having a strap, max tracks. As much shit as we talk about those traction boards, they do, when used properly in the snow, they do work.
Yeah.
Make sure you have lanyards on them so you can find them afterwards.
Yes, true.
They will disappear on you. But yeah, we have a couple of different. We've gone into this topic pretty detailed before, recovery equipment. So go back and listen to a couple of the episodes. The one with Factor 55, Justin, awesome episode for recovery stuff.
I'll put some links down in the descriptions of some of our recovery episodes. But yeah, I think, just multiple straps, probably multiple
redundancy,
multiple to like a dozen soft shackles or, some sort of shackle. Also, go listen to the Factor 55 episode where we talk about setting up recovery systems and don't put any like hard devices in the middle of your winching systems or anything like that. Tree savers, go get one of those dead man off-road blanket things so you can make yourself an anchor somewhere if you're in the middle of nowhere.
Snow ground anchor. Yep.
Pretty much everything that you could think about for being a recovery system, you probably want to take if you're going out solo.
Yep. A big one for snowloing, I'm going to call it snowloing. The big one for snowloing is winch extensions.
Yeah.
Your winches typically will have 80 feet of line. There's some winches out there that can have a lot more line on your drum, but most likely if you're a regular peasant like us, you've got 80 feet of line on your winch. So carrying winch extensions to go out to 300, 400, 500 feet, that's going to ensure that you can get somewhere. Or dead man off-road, those recovery blanket anchors, or know how to scrap one together out of stuff you have in your vehicle and digging a hole in the snow and building it in there. Like you can make one out of a shovel, which is pretty fun. There's different ways to make kind of ground anchors in the snow. Know how to make one and be familiar with it.
Right.
So
sounds good.
Yep. So let's see. From there, what were we going? Oh, things that can go wrong on your vehicle.
Got it.
That in the snow is going to leave you dead in the water.
All right. So typically I would say snow wheeling is not nearly as hard as rock crawling on a vehicle.
100%.
So do you carry all the same replacement parts that you?
I do, mainly just because I have it all stored together.
Yeah. Okay. You don't have a snow wheeling box and a rock crawling box?
No, I don't.
Okay. I mean, you should know about some of the common weaknesses of your vehicle and have spare parts.
Yep. So a big common weakness in snow wheeling is actually things overheating.
Okay. Yeah.
So radiators getting too hot, your engine's cooling system getting too hot. So when that happens, you can blow radiator hoses.
Just throw snow on the engine.
And that helps a lot to cool it back down, or realize when your engine is getting hot and stop and let it cool down before you blow a radiator hose.
Yes. And the thing about stopping to let it cool down, keep your vehicle running.
Yes.
And probably at that point, it's overheating because you've filled your grill with snow and it can't get any air. So when you stop, leave the vehicle running, hop out and clean away the front of your vehicle.
Yep.
So that you can start getting airflow through your vehicle, but still sit there and let the vehicle cool down to a normal operating temperature before you move on.
100%. That's the best thing you can do, is just staying proactive on that. So overheating is one of the big issues because you stop getting airflow as it's snowing. It'll get stuck in your grill, or just hitting snow berms in your deep snow. The other one that is really important is that can go south quickly is tires. There can be protrusions in the snow that you don't see.
Oh yeah.
And those can catch into your tires and slice a sidewall or puncture a tire or something. So being able to either have a spare tire or a way to fix tire injuries, tire issues, damages. Thank you. Tire damages. That's a big thing that, in my opinion, you should have on your vehicle.
Okay.
From there,
so a tire repair kit.
A good tire repair kit that takes care of your valve stems, plugs, sidewall patches.
Do you know anyone that has something like that?
I think this company I heard about has a really cool one. I want to say it was like More Flat.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, yeah.
They have that More Flat.
That More Flat company.
Tire Extreme Repair Kit.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. We'll have to ask Brian, see if he can confirm that.
Some MFers.
Yeah, MFers. You got me. Yeah, you got distracted now.
Having a good tire repair kit, because tire damage could go wrong, because there could be holes in the snow, bridges that you're going over, you're aired down, probably very low, and you could probably pinch flats or get a stick that you don't see going through your tire or something. So you're going to need to repair your tires.
Yeah. Blowing beads in the snow is another very common thing, which is not a bad thing. Everybody's always really concerned about blowing a tire bead. And I'm like, it's not that bad. Right. Like, as long as you have a way to air up your tire and a way to lift up your vehicle so that weight is off, you're not folding the tire up anymore. They're pretty easy to reseat. You don't need special tools or special things to reseat tires.
Right.
The other thing is know how to reseat a tire. They're easy to do. And when you're snow wheeling, you're at lower tire pressures and you're much more likely to blow a bead. Yeah.
I think there's some knowledge there that everybody sort of needs to know. If you're going to go out by yourself, you're going to need to know some of these somewhat basic things. Yeah. For how to fix a tire, how to reseat a bead.
Yep.
How to fix parts on your vehicle. Don't be that person that bought your vehicle and then go out wheeling and then you don't know how to repair it if you have a problem.
I bought this really awesome 4-door Tacoma Ute with tracks recently. And I decided to go out solo snow wheeling for like a week with it.
Cool.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I bet. Does Dimitri know you took it?
Man. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty basic thing. If you're planning on going out solo snowmobiling, you probably know how to reseat a tire bead, but that's one of the things you should know how to do before going out. From there, yeah, snow wheeling isn't as hard on vehicle components as rock crawling is typically. So typically your drivetrain stuff is going to be fine. If you have an automatic transmissions, those like to overheat too. But again, that just comes down to paying attention to your engine temperatures and your vehicle temps, and don't let it get to that point. From there, keeping your windshield clear.
Yeah.
So good wipers blades and good ways to keep condensation from building up on your windshield while you're driving.
Defogging,
a squeegee. I have a squeegee now. Thanks, Ryan. For the 4Runner, air conditioning, make sure your AC works in the vehicle, helps a ton to drying out the air inside your vehicle. And so, keeping the windshield clear is another big one. Can be a major hazard in winter snow wheeling that you need to know how to solve if you're going to be by yourself.
Right.
Let's see what else. Extra fuel. If you're going to be out snow wheeling, you're going to get stuck and you're going to have to call somebody for help and you're going to have to wait for them to come get you. So one of the best ways to stay warm is to just let the engine run and make sure that your exhaust emissions can clear out to open air, that they're not going to leak into the vehicle. And the best way to do that is to carry extra fuel with you because you're going to burn through fuel.
Yeah. Just letting it idle.
Just letting it idle, keeping the heater running in the vehicle. You're going to burn through fuel. It won't burn through as quickly as driving it. But if you have extra fuel with you, then you can extend that amount of time that you can stay warm and habitable. And again, it's just kind of another redundancy plan to help keeping yourself stay warm. I think extra fuel is a good thing to bring just because you're going to be spinning more tires. You're going to be hitting a little higher on a rev limiter than rock crawling. You're going to be Unless
burning.
You drive a Toyota.
Yeah. You're going to be right. You're going to be burning more fuel than you would on the same trip on the dry weather.
Yeah, totally.
But what I was going for here is, what about bringing a sleeping bag? We keep talking about all this, all these other ways to stay warm, bring extra fuel so you can run the engine so you can stay warm. You could bring a sleeping bag and just jump in that sleeping bag and stay warm.
Oh, true. I thought we mentioned sleeping bags earlier.
I don't think we did.
Okay. Sleeping bag, 0 degree or lower.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. I have a 32 degree sleeping bag and it does not keep me warm enough in the snow.
No. Yeah. I had a 30 or 20 degree bag, whatever it was, and it wasn't warm enough. I had to get a new one.
Yep. And once again, there's different versions of sleeping bags. Just do your research, figure out synthetic, down, how much compression you want to do, what kind of, do you want a mummy bag or what? Figure
square
it out.
Bag,
square bag or whatever they're called.
Yep. Lots of different options there. Have something. So definitely a sleeping bag of some sort. I like to bring along my electric blanket as well.
Yes.
And, but I also bring ways to make sure I have a sustainable power. So I usually bring solar and Jackery and extra batteries with me and stuff like that. So
yeah, you were going to talk about solar earlier about having constant power.
Yeah.
And that really, I think, comes down to, you're going to need, at some point, you're going to need to charge maybe your cell phone. And at some point, you're going to run an electric blanket, or some point, you're probably running a fridge, even though you're in the middle of the winter.
Yeah.
The fridge probably isn't running very much itself, but you're going to need to charge that battery that all these things are running off of, and having a solar panel is a good one.
Yep. So that's kind of my plan for sustainable power, because I've come to realize that I like using electronics when I go wheeling. I know a lot of off-roaders don't like it. And so the systems that I need to make sure are good are not only my mechanical systems, but a lot of my life support systems depend on technology.
Yeah.
And electronics. So I need to make sure that I have a good electronic system in the vehicle, a good 12-volt system.
Got it.
And then I try and standardize everything to 12 volts and USB-C as much as possible. So that's my plan. That's me personally. I think that technology, I'm a big fan of technology and what technology can offer us off-roading and going on solo adventures. Some people hate technology and they're like, no, I just want something that's mechanical, that works mechanically. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's you. I'm me. So I just have to make sure that my 12-volt systems are good.
Yeah.
And I have to put more work and effort into them. So
I would bring some sort of flashlight or lighting system.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Devos one would be necessary, because you're not going to be so much hanging outside, but you're going to be Maybe you're going to need to be under a rig looking at something. Maybe you're going to need to be at night tinkering in an engine bay. You know, you're probably going to need some light at some point. So, you know, bring a flashlight or two or a headlamp, because then you can use your hands, both hands. You don't have to hold the light. So at least some form of light at night. You know, you can think of this as you are going, there is the chance that you are going to be camping. Bring everything that you'd normally take camping and expect it to all get wet and be cold. So figure that out.
Yeah. Which comes down to anything that uses a lithium battery is going to die in sub-freezing temperatures and will not work.
Correct.
So be prepared for that as well. Tarps. Tarps are another big one. They're a multi-use item that you can use to insulate yourself at least a little bit from laying in the snow. If you need to work under a rig, you can create ad hoc shelters. You can create ad hoc lean-to shelters off of your vehicle. You can create something with a ridge pole in it and have like a little hanging A shelter kind of thing. There's lots of different uses for tarps that can help you stay out of the weather, help you with working on a vehicle if you need to, create a little spot if you need to get out of the vehicle, if you have to use your vehicle for shelter. You can get out of the vehicle and pee in the middle of the night kind of thing. So there's lots of different uses for tarps. So having a good tarp that you can depend on that's sturdy and is going to be weatherproof, weather resistant in terms of water, getting through the membrane, those are awesome to have. So
I would bring some twine. I mean, we're getting
paracord.
I think tarp is, you know, an item that we needed to mention, but you know, just a twine for like tying down the tarp one way or another, or making dead mans or something, you know, you can cut up the twine, use it however. It's just one of those things that's always in my camping box. I would just get some paracord. If I cut it up enough, I go buy another chunk of paracord.
So yeah, I don't know if there's too much else. I mean, everything, there's a lot of different stuff, but pretty much the rest of it comes down to, what do you typically bring during summer wheeling? Bring that winter wheeling with you as well. And then what are the other systems that you need to set up and make sure are sustainable and redundant? For when the bad shit happens.
Right. We didn't talk about fluids, but I would bring, you know, we've talked about that in the past, you know, bring spare fluids, you know, the engine might overheat, bring the condensed antifreeze, right? You're going to need some engine oil. You might need some brake fluid. You might need some power steering fluid. You might need some gear oil, you know, maybe you need WD-40 or PB blaster. You know, these are all things that are in my fluids tote. So I would bring, I have a tote that I just throw in the back of the rig every time I go wheeling.
Oh, another one we didn't mention, chainsaw. If you're going to go solo snow wheeling, you need to have a chainsaw, in my opinion. Because it is way too likely that you're going to go into a trail, and when you turn around to come out, there's going to be trees down. And it's inevitably, it is going to happen. That is not like, it might happen. It will happen. It's a very high chance, high risk thing of happening. And you need to be able to get those trees out of the way. Or you can use it to create firewood for a fire, a warming fire. Or, you know, you can pull some of the gasoline out. 2-stroke gasoline lights very well.
I bet.
Starts fires great. So there's uses for chainsaw. And so having that with you, in my opinion, if you're going to go solo snow wheeling, you need to have one.
And you bringing that up and then talking about lithium batteries, it made me think about electric chainsaws. Might not be the best in snow wheeling applications. You probably actually want an actual 2-stroke gas chainsaw, which are getting hard and almost near impossible to find here in California.
Starting 2024.
You're not going to be able to get one. So consider getting one now if this is something that you want to get into, or find one on the used market to have, because that electric chainsaw won't last very long in that cold weather.
Batteries do not like sub-freezing temperatures. And I don't know if I have talked about it or not, but that's another one of my rants, is California banning 2-stroke motors. Starting 2024. All the shit that is going on right now with the winter we're getting right now, if we did not have 2-stroke motors available, people would 100% be dead.
Probably.
There are way too many instances up in the hills right now.
People are relying on their generators to keep their house alive. And if you had an electric generator or those Tesla battery things, I mean, maybe we could ask Rodney how they go, but Do they last as long in the winter?
Well, those I believe, since they're inside the house, they're in a sheltered area. The batteries, those wall batteries, so they can.
It's still cold in their garage, I'm sure.
A lot of them, though, you can get with self warmers.
Okay,
It
then
just
you're
sucks,
using some of the power.
It sucks power up to keep them warm,
and they don't last that long.
Yeah,
and they don't refill because there's snow on top of your roof.
Yeah, hopefully you set your solar panels up in a place that you can go and clear them 3 or 4 times a day in snowstorms.
And still they don't probably fill, they won't get enough power.
Mm-hmm.
So these people that have an electric or a gasoline generator have multiple gallons of gasoline, a few 5-gallon buckets or whatever that are able to go and just refill that.
Mm-hmm.
My parents in their new house set it up so that they have a propane generator. So if the power goes out, they can connect the generator to the 500-gallon propane tank that we have. They have, and I have at my new house. And so they can run off of the propane. But yeah, going to this electric thing it's
not going to be good for the mountain towns in California.
No. It's an outstanding idea for those people that don't get the massive crazy weather and they're in cities.
100%. I agree. I think if Los Angeles County and San Francisco wanted to go to all electric and ban 2-stroke motors, fine, have at it. But I think it's a really, really bad move for all the mountain counties.
For the generic lawnmowers and weed eaters and blowers, for the guy working around his house, I think that's still okay with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a survival level that people aren't thinking about.
Yep, I agree. So
go buy your generators.
Go buy your generators and
chainsaws now.
Yeah.
Ultra 4 Jones, if you listen to this, tell me what chainsaw I should buy.
Yeah. I've been watching because I'm like 2024 is coming up quick. And so I'm thinking about grabbing a couple more chainsaws before 2024 hits.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Either that or I'll just be making some trips into Nevada and starting a chainsaw black market in California.
How funny would that be?
Yeah.
You're like, I just bought 30 chainsaws from Reno.
Yeah. Who wants one?
Who wants a chainsaw?
Oh, man. So cool, man. I think that's good. I think the big takeaway here is redundancy and planning ahead and having that experience, knowing how to use the systems and how to be sustainable with yourself to be able to last there until help can come. That's the worst case scenario, right? Is that you are immobilized, you're not going anywhere, and help has to come get you.
No.
Worst case scenario would be help isn't coming.
You don't know if help's coming.
That's true. Yeah. That is worst case. Yeah.
You're stuck. You're broken down. You don't have cell phone reception. I mean, worst case is like you're trapped physically. Maybe like avalanche happened and took your vehicle out. But we don't want to go down that road. Anyways, the worst case, the bad case is you're stuck and you can't get out and you have no way to ask for help.
Yep. So doing what you can to alleviate those and having redundant systems to alleviate those is really what you want to be focusing on here.
Yep.
But if you can do that and do it well and do it properly, it can be a very rewarding adventure.
Yeah. If that's something you're into.
If that's what you're into. Exactly. if you're fucked in the head like I am, then yeah, it could be. So
yeah, I think that's a great episode. If there's stuff out there that we've completely missed, phone us, call us, email us, send us a message on IG. I'm also kind of curious about people that don't live in California that do like going snow wheeling. And you guys have a different snow over there in the Midwest for sure. Do you plan differently? I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah.
Are you not so much concerned about communications because you're not in a mountain?
Yeah.
How does it work? What do you guys do? Or do you just not go snow wheeling because you always get snow? I don't know.
Yeah.
You can email us, Jimmy or Tyler at snailtrail4x4.com. You can phone us 916-345-4744. Or you can find me over on Instagram, snailtrail4x4, and Tyler's over at 4x4 Toyota Ford Tyler.
Yeah, something like that. I'm also like, I get a kick out of this stuff. I like solo adventuring. So I'm kind of curious what other ideas are out there. Is there something I'm missing that would make my life a lot easier or more safer while I'm out there? So I want to hear what people do.
Yeah, there's always I'm always intrigued about gear.
Mhm.
I love learning new things about gear or new types of gear or
You're such
any
an
of
overlander.
it. I kind of could be a Rocklander.
Nice.
I got a rooftop tent. I carry my shelter with me.
There you go.
And that thing gets warm when you're in it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Gear is always stuff that I'm into. And we didn't really go into gear a lot on this episode. This was kind of more of a hierarchy snow wheeling level. But I also, I think we could do a follow-up on just knowledge. Things you need to know, like setting a bead. Skill sets. Okay. Setting a bead, using your winch, you know, how to make a dead man. I think we could do a whole follow-up episode on this for solo snow wheeling, things you need to know when you're going out.
That'd be cool. I'm down for that. That would be, I think, a lot of fun explaining kind of how we do stuff when we're out with these different skill sets kind of thing. So cool. I like it. So
or like how to make a dead man out of a shovel, right? We could do a follow-ups on stuff like that.
How to get creative with them.
Which I think I know. I'll ask you off air.
Okay. So cool, man. Let's see. I think that about does it for this episode. Yeah. Give us all your feedback. We love hearing from everybody out there. So I guess with that being said, Jimmy, final words for everybody.
Hot coffee sounds good right after this episode.
And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
I am ready.
Do you know what the difference is between a hippo and a zippo?
One's a big heavy thing. The other's a little lighter.
Yay. Nice job.
I've heard that one before. I can't remember what it was for the hippo though.
One's very heavy and the other one's a little lighter.
There we go.
Yours worked.
Thank you.